Okay, so little update on the case study so far. I think we've just wrapped up the 20th of September, which was, I think, day three. So we launched on the 18th. We went live midday. Let's, you know what? Let's walk through how that looked. So the 18th we launched CBO. I need to scroll down here. Let's make this. That's not going to adjust the window, so I'm going to have to keep it like that. Um, do you want to? Let me just refresh this page and see if I want that scroll bar to appear a little bit without me having to scroll down for it. I don't know if it's because of these two notifications, and I am zoomed in a bit to make it a little bit easier for you to read. So let's go to the 18th. All right. No, oh, there we go. That's better. So the 18th we went live, and it was around midday. We spent 655. Had an amazing day, great start, got super excited, and was like, okay, we'll let it cook a little bit, right, and see what the next day, full day brings. Well, the 19th rolled around, and we did not do the 18th results again. We did the 19th, and it flopped. Oh, it didn't flop, but it didn't, hold as good as the first day that it got off to. Very similar metrics. Let's actually compare. There is a way of comparing. Let's go to the groups and let's do this. It's a bit easier to compare by date, right? And then we can expand this through to today. All right, so we launched on the 18th, so ignore the 21st. That's because it's just gone live. It's just gone into the 21st now, 15 minutes in. Okay, so we went on the 18th, spent 655, 50 cent cost per click, 56 or we'll call it 57% LPCTR. We weren't checking checkouts because it was a max web offer. I'll explain what this is in a second. And our CPA $59, insane conversion rate 0.8%, and obviously ROI 92% with an EPC of 96 cents. Crazy. So 19th came round and I left everything the same. I wanted to get a full day's worth of data. CPC slightly better, but around the same. LPCTR slightly better, but around the same. But what happened was we weren't seeing any results coming. And it was, I think, coming up to late morning in the ad account time zone, and I think we were maybe $400-500 spent or $300-400 spent with no sales. So I was like, something wrong. At that point, you're like, okay. Usually we've seen a conversion, and obviously this was a new campaign, but I was sort of like, day one was amazing, and now day two, and this is the love hate sort of style of affiliate marketing. One day you're singing, you're on top of the mountain. The next day, you're 60 feet in the water, right? So, yeah, love hate relationship, right? So, what I did is I know there was a good offer that has always done well for us in nerve pain, and so I thought I'm going to chuck that in and just see if we can pull this back. We couldn't. It didn't do anything. It got two checkouts. It didn't do well at all. Again, I think we maybe put $200-300 towards this as after I added it in. Bearing in mind we only spent nine. So $200, 700. We'd spent $300 already by that part, or maybe $400. So $600 across the new offer and what we'd spent in the morning and not had any results. And I thought, I've just got to sit on this. So I turned off that offer. This is why patience is key, and this is proof of it. And this is also why these case studies are going to be so valuable, because I still make mistakes, right? I still fuck up. I still, oh shit, it's like something's not right. It's a hard thing to sort of get away from. But this is proof of why to leave it, because I left it then and went to bed, and I could have turned this off. I didn't. And then, within a few hours remaining of the day, 6 sales came in, totaling $690. And I think, that was in the final $300-400 of spend for the day. So that $400 of spend was profitable, right? But obviously with the morning, etc., and a new offer that I've chucked in, that sort of put it out. It still wouldn't, I don't think it still would have turned around, but who knows? Anyway, this is part and parcel of why we test and gather data and obviously all of those good things. So then taking that from, what was coming out there, let's add in campaign name, ad group, and then add. So let's break it down by date. So we can see the date, B3C1 kicked ass. All three got sales, but 3009 absolutely smashed it. So 3009 got 4 conversions at $41 cost. Superb, right? Then 19th, B3C1, 3009 continued that trend, right? Continued. Right, how many did it get? Another 4 conversions, again with an amazing CPA. And this is where and what I mean with pockets of profit, right? Although we knew that it was a profitable ad anyway from the previous day, overall, this looks like a shit day, right? You lost money, $300 down the pan. However, there's the pockets of profit. There is the profit pocket there. 4 sales at a great CPA. Now, obviously, we did make sales. This was profitable. Only got 1 sale, but at a cost of $97. I think the payout's $115. This flopped, right? But again, we're running free ads. So you also have to take that into account. There's multiple things going on in here. We're not just spending $990 on one ad, right? We're spending that across free ads. So then when you break it down, $200 in this ad set, 355, 124, 124. But then 85, 35, 4, 21, 55, and then we've got this one as well, 97, 136, 121, right? There's stuff happening, right? So then, I decided to take the data, and I don't know if I showed this in the previous video that I did, but we broke down that, in actual fact, Australia and US were converting really well, whereas UK and Canada and New Zealand weren't doing that great. So here's the same campaign, the CBO campaign that we kept running. So spent 286 here, and then I was like, look, this, I'm not happy with the way this campaign's going. And again, it was in the morning. So here's again the data. Are we looking at a niche, an offer that convert well in the afternoon and night as opposed to the morning? That's interesting data, right? Now here's the thesis behind that, and this is why it's important to get into your target market's mindset and understand. What I'm thinking is maybe as a person who suffers from neuropathy and nerve pain, and not me, but thinking in someone who does, potentially they go to bed, they're obviously not on their feet, they're resting, maybe they have a broken night's sleep because of pain, but maybe they don't. Maybe they have a good night's rest, and obviously they're not on the feet for hours at a time. So they're a little bit more rested. Maybe the symptoms aren't as aggressive in the morning when they get up for the morning, right? So then they go about their morning, and maybe things, they're not too painful. They're maybe a little bit out of sight, out of mind. And then as the day progresses, maybe they're a little bit more active on their feet. Maybe they've gone to the job. Maybe they're going around their daily duties or whatever. And then it comes into the afternoon, and now they're starting to feel it. They've been on their feet for 5-6 hours. There's, maybe pins and needles are starting to kick in. Maybe the burning pains are starting to kick in. Well, now, is it that's when the symptoms are starting to really come up aggressively? Because bear in mind, the 18th, we started midday. Look how good that did. Then the 19th, the morning was terrible and had me flapping. But then when I went to bed, and obviously I'm 11 hours ahead of 11 hours ahead of Pacific, sorry. I went to bed, and then for the next few hours, sales started dropping in. And in that period, we were profitable. And then here as well, so like on the 20th yesterday, I turned the CBO off, like probably mid to late morning. And I launched an ABO thinking, I'm going to launch an ABO, see what happens. And I introduced our optimized ad set, which was US and AU, also 65 plus, right? With our winning ad, which was 3009. Two of the ads got rejected. I actually added three in. I did the original post ID from the 3009 that was winning and had 8 conversions altogether so far. And then I added 2 new ones, which was changing up the thumbnail of the video. And this was the only one that got approved, and it did really well. If we scroll across, it got 8 conversions at $59 a pop, 1.28 conversion rate. And this was just running to the US, Australia, and 65 plus age bracket as opposed to 45 plus. So I made some optimizations here. Again, I can't remember if I covered that in the video previous. I think I did, but if I didn't, that's what I did here, right? And then our other ad sets carried on in the ABO. Everything got sales, which was good. And everything apart from B1C1 was profitable. And you can see our winning ad actually didn't win in this new test, this new ad set. 3006 and 3003 did well. 1027 did well. Thumbnail images, 3021, 3030 did well. 3029 was negative, and that was actually the one that was getting the sales in our initial. I know this is really quite confusing, so I do apologize. I don't know why I can't open that up. Why can't I? There we go. Images, 3029 got, I think, 3 sales on day 1. Anyway, okay, so like I know that's super hard to read because it's a little bit too much data on the screen. So, I mean, ABO, CBO, I guess, it looks like I'm going to turn CBO back on today, but I am tempted to wait till late morning to turn that back on, just in case that sort of thesis is correct. Now, also bearing in mind it's Saturday and weekends can react differently. I'm going to leave the ABO as it is and see what day 2 brings. But all in all, 20th was profitable, but only just. I think it was like 11%, 18%. But the ABO campaign was nearly 39% ROI, which means the CPA was $82, which is within our KPI or target CPA of $85, right? So let's see how that rolls. Spent a little bit more, so $19.40 was spent. Overall, we spent $3,590, and we've generated $4,255, which is a 65 profit, 18% ROI. So it's not great, but because I've added in a few things and we're gathering that data, I'm happy with that to know that we're at least in profit. The offer's definitely got legs. Definitely something we can pursue with this offer, and hopefully we can scale up. So I'm going to leave it as is. Now, with the ABO, let me switch and get away from the date, so we're not looking at the date. With this ABO, these are all lifetime as well. So we're still running lifetime. Each one is a 30K lifetime, same as what we did with the CBO, but at the ad set level. Now, also what I brought in was bid caps. Now, I've added it to the CBO as well to see, but look at the difference here across the lifetime of this campaign. At this point, these ad sets can be turned off, right? TN images are not performing well. B1C1 not performing well. And this is spent 665. This is spent 383. At this point, if we're not in profit, unless we've got one ad that is getting neglected, like 213, let's see what 1051 is doing. See, it's not a high enough ROI at 7% to say, let's keep this on. And it's spent nearly 3x our target CPA of $85, right? It's like $30 short of that. 1019 is negative and it's spent even more. 1005 is negative and it's spent, approximately the 3x target CPA. So B1C1 can be turned off. B1C3 as well, I would say it can be turned off. It's spent 3x target CPA on the ad set level. Winners can be turned on. I mean, obviously it will be turned on when I turn on the CBO campaign later today. And interestingly, we've got 2 ads approved there. So we'll see how that fares. And obviously B3C1 is kicking butt. So when we turn this CBO on, the budget is going to flow through to B3C1 and winners. Now, I'm not going to add in any other ad sets just yet. I'm going to see how today looks and go from there. And then on the ABO level, we're going to keep everything on as is because everything has pockets of profit. And we'll see what day 2 brings. Hopefully, it brings good stuff, but we'll see. So, yeah, bid caps were added to both of these. And we'll go from there. Now, the bid cap that I added, I might have to dive into this because I can't remember what we added. But the bid cap that was added is 230. And I think this is across the board. Yeah, 230. So that is 2x the payout. Okay, I think that's what I've done it off. Usually I do it off target CPA. I think I've done it off the payout here. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to get a good bid to sort of hopefully maximize our results. And obviously we can see it's done pretty well. So let's see how we go today and hopefully the results continue. I'm going to turn on that CBO as well. But this is what I mean. I know this is a bit higgledy-piggledy, but I want to give you insight as to everything that's going on. Sometimes it's not all, that I think I've already said this Rocky quote, sunshines and rainbows, or whatever that quote is. But that this is the beauty of a case study and a real-time case study. I'm still making mistakes. I make mistakes. No one's perfect. And it's good to sort of have everyone see that. And I'm quite excited to reveal that as well because, there's more failures than there is successes. I can tell you that for a fact. So some days are going to be terrible. Some days are going to be amazing. Some days are going to be mediocre, and that is the beauty of running as a media buyer, affiliate campaigns where it's, in your control and it's your budget, it's your money. We get to, it's sometimes hard to control the emotions, which is why the mindset module is so freaking important. Like, even, I'm still struggling. Like, I struggle with the mindset as well. It's so important to keep that mindset right. So important to keep your productivity. Different things factor. Like, and I'm not making excuses for decisions made yesterday and like me maybe jumping the gun, adding in a new offer, jumping the gun, adding in an ABO campaign, which actually turned out to be the right thing to do. But I'm not making excuses, but I will tell you this last week, in fact, these last 10 days, we've moved to a new country. We've been here for 4 weeks now, but we've moved to a new country. The girls, my 2 daughters have started a new school. 10 days ago, my middle child came down with flu. Anyway, I don't need to go into this. Like, there's no excuse needed. But what I will say is what I'm trying to relate this back to is I've had shit sleep, okay? I've maybe not made the right decisions with my food and diet. I've definitely neglected staying active, right? Working out, getting a sweat on. Because broken sleep, that then drives me for some reason when I'm tired. I can't think of anything else apart from work. And like, shit, this isn't working. I need to get something popping. This isn't working. I need to do this. And I make reactive decisions reactively without, when I'm eating well and eating good and I'm sleeping well and I'm working out and exercising, my mindset is so much more calmer. That's that triangle of productivity. I am able to, all right, let's not react to this just yet. Let's let it play out. It's all good. That is why it's so freaking important. Honestly, I know, I'm going off down that tangent of the kids were ill, and that sounds like an excuse. I wanted it to relate back to why perhaps I've reacted the way I reacted yesterday. And at the end of the day, nothing, no harm done, right? it actually turned out to be a profitable day, not the kind of profit I wanted, but we didn't lose money. And when you don't lose money, no harm done, right? So we got a bunch of data, which we can, again, if we go back in here, like what have we got now? We have 37 conversions. Let's take a look. Again, I don't think we've got enough data to be making too much or too hasty a decision. But let's have a look at the hour of day to see where we're converting at. Again, I don't think we are going to be seeing anything spectacular just yet. I can actually see that we've got a pattern forming. So here we are, right? Now, 0, midnight, through to 8 a.m., no sales. Now, on the hour, we haven't spent enough to be like, okay, this hour's shit, right? But you can see the pattern forming. This is why we need data. Look at that freaking pattern. Look at this block. Right? From 3 p.m. through to midnight, every hour apart from one is profitable. Now, is there enough data? I don't personally think so. Okay, I don't think there's enough data for us to be like, okay, let's just focus on that block. But I can tell you for a fact here, let's have a look. 5, 10, 16, 18, 20, 21, 24, 26. 26 of our 37 conversions have happened after 3 p.m. Now, another thing to point out before making decisions on hours of day and day parting, ideally, you need at least 7 days of data. You want to try and hit the weekend. You need every day in the week. We've only been running 3 days. So ideally, we want to have a full week's worth of data. Ideally, 2 weeks worth of data. But again, we'll decide off that later at a later date. But I can see the pattern starting to form. It's interesting, right? I would ideally like to see at least 1x our payout on these hours to actually determine, why run here. Okay, so that's one thing. Let's also try and look at OS. So this is another optimization that I quite like. Let's stack it up by cost. Okay, so Android and iOS. iOS slightly spent more, but Android looks to be profitable. Not amazing, just into profit. So what's carrying us here looks to be desktop. So Windows and Mac OS. Interesting, right? Now we could drill deeper into that. So we go and see what OS version's actually working. And if we're spending money on something that's maybe, like some of the older OS types or versions. So let's have a quick look at that as well. So iOS. So look at iOS 17.6, which is the newest one. Spent $1,000 and is losing money. Let's have a look as well at Android. Okay, there we go. So we've got a couple of profitable versions. This isn't something that I'd probably optimize too much. I just wanted to see if we're putting any money towards an older one and losing it. Doesn't look like we are, but I'd probably keep this as is. I've never had any luck with segmenting by desktop. So we ain't gonna do that. Now, another place I like to look at is the placement. So again, do we have enough data? Probably not, but let's have a look and see if we can spot any trends. So placement, and this is interesting, right? So mobile feed, not great. Let's have a look at how much of a loss we are there. Look at that, negative 27%. Reels, what was the ROI there? 60%. Desktop feed, 429%. Now look at that. The same amount of conversions on desktop as there is mobile feed. It's interesting, right? Very, very interesting. Why have we still got that? Yeah, that is super interesting. So Reels looking good. Facebook Stories, not enough data there. Just one conversion by the looks of it. But that is some good data to go off. So we keep an eye on this and potentially we can... I'm not a big fan of zoning in on certain placements, but I mean, we'll try it. We can run an ad set that is Reels only or an ad set that is desktop only. I've never had that much success targeting desktop on its own. It seems to flop when we do. Like the having it in like with everything else seems to lower the cost. When we segment desktop out, can often inflate the CPM, which is great. So let's go and have a look and see. Break this down by device type. I know I'm going into where is this? Impression device. Seems to be on a bit of a go slow today, the computer. So we'll see. All right, Android smartphone in the ABO, okay. Desktop, $31. Look at that, 8 conversions in the ABO. iPad, negative. iPhone, negative. So that's a great start today or yesterday for the ABO in the Android and desktop. Down here in the CBO, Android again, desktop again, iPad, not bad. iPhone sucked. So, like, I'm thinking, are we seeing an iOS 14 update here? So there's 2 and 5 sales there. We are around 34 purchases tracked. Let's just refresh it real quick. So 34 purchases tracked, whereas RedTrack's telling us 37. So we're, excuse me, so we're missing 3. iOS, let's just switch back. Again, I know I'm really going off on a tangent here, so I apologize, but this is live, data-driven deep dives. iOS is 9 conversions, so 9 sales. And what is iPad saying? Do we have iPad? Is iPad counted towards, yeah, there's iPad OS, which is coming in at 4 sales. So iPad 1 there, iPhone 2, iPad 4, iPhone 3. So we've got 5 iPhone sales, we've got 5 iPad sales, and we've got 3 missing sales. So let's just take a look. iPad 4, so we're under 1. So we could maybe say one of the iPad sales in Facebook is actually an iPhone sale in RedTrack or iOS sale. Which would then say 9. So then we'd be 8. So there'd still be 3 missing, which would maybe collate with what we're missing in Ads Manager. I don't know. Let's see, like 12 Android phone sales, 6 here and 6 here. So that sort of works out. Yeah. Anyway, we don't need to dive into it too deep. Again, I'm probably going a little bit too anal here, but yeah, it's interesting, right? This is why I love fucking media buying, because I love this aspect, trying to work out where we can spend our money most effectively. And it doesn't always work out the way we want it to. When we see something absolutely blowing up, like desktop, is it going to blow up if we segment it? Well, I might try it. Who knows? But we'll see. So I'm going to end and wrap up the video there. There might be a few changes, which I'll jump into tomorrow. And see, but let's see if we can continue with profit into the weekend.